Now let's talk about writing your intervention letters. This is really the backbone of the intervention process, and it's a great thing too. Once you really get into intervention day, it's fantastic to have the real meat of the intervention completely scripted so everybody knows in advance exactly what you're going to say. It gives you a great deal of comfort and confidence, believe me, when it comes down to the actual intervention. Now, the intervention letters themselves are written using a 7-point format. This makes it very easy to write. We break it into pieces for you so that everybody can really be a great writer. So let's go through those 7 points, and I hope you've got a pen and a piece of paper with you right now. The first point is identification. Here, I want you to state something about the nature of your relationship with the alcoholic. I want you to actually name that relationship and say something about it. For example, a mother might write in a letter to her daughter, "Dear Susie, I'm here today and writing you as your mother, the person who knew you before you were even born." Or someone else might say, "Dear Joe, I've known you for more than 30 years. You're my oldest and dearest friend." In any case, it's a very brief introduction that sets the tone for the letter. The second point is love. The second part of the letter is the love part of the letter, and this is the longest part of the letter. Here, I want you to go into great detail about why you love and care about this person. I want you to talk about great times that you've had together. I want you to talk about times that you've been proud of them. And most importantly, times that they were there for you. For example, you might say something like, "And Joe, when I went through my divorce 3 years ago, you were the person who was really there for me. I don't know how I would have gotten through those dark days without you." Another thing that you might want to bring up is a little bit of humor. You know, in some ways, this love part of the letter is very much like a eulogy. What would you say about this person if you had to give their eulogy 3 days from now? Just like a good eulogy, you can have a little bit of humor. You can tell that great little story about the person that's maybe a little funny, maybe it has a little family inside joke to it that typifies what a wonderful person they are. Anyway, I want you to take your time in writing the love part of the letter. It's really the most important because it tells exactly what you feel. It's right from the heart. The third part of the letter is the reframing. Now, what I mean by this is that we want to reframe the issue that we're talking about, alcoholism and drug addiction, as a medical issue as opposed to a moral issue or a willpower issue. This is a rather short part of the letter, but it's important. You might say something along the lines of, "You know, Joe, I've taken some time to learn about chemical dependency, and I've come to understand that it's a medical problem that requires professional treatment. This doesn't have anything to do with your willpower. It has to do with the fact that you've got a disease and you need to get some help." The fourth part of the letter is the facts. And here we want to be concise, right to the point, no blame, no anger, no nothing. It's like Sergeant Joe Friday used to say on Dragnet, "The facts, ma'am, just the facts." I want you to state 2 or 3 items that you know at first hand that would tell anybody that there's an alcohol or drug problem here. You need to state them in just a sentence or 2. After all, the alcoholic is going to know exactly what you're talking about. Your information has to be firsthand or it has to be unimpeachable. For example, someone can talk about a drunk driving ticket that they weren't an actual witness to because it's a public record. If you don't have firsthand facts, that's okay. You can talk about your own feelings. Many times, for example, grandparents may live in a distant city. They don't have any direct understanding or facts that they know firsthand that they can talk about, but they can talk about their worry. They can talk about their concern, and those are facts too. The fifth point in our 7-point letter format is commitment. Here, I want you to make a personal commitment to stand by the alcoholic in any way that's appropriate to help them through the treatment and recovery process. You're really making a commitment to the real person, the one who's been taken away by alcoholism and drug addiction, to help them regain themselves and come back into the world better than ever. Number 6 is the ask. Here we are going to ask the person in no uncertain terms to go into treatment today and to give it 100%. You may want to begin this part of the letter by talking about why you selected this particular treatment center and why you know it's right for them. And then ask them to go today, right now, give it everything that they've got, and follow through 100% with the recommendations of the treatment team. Finally, the seventh point, or affirmation. I want you to end your letter on a very positive note. I want you to talk about why you know they can make it. You may have to hearken back to section 2 and talk about some of those qualities that you so admire that tells you that they're really going to be able to do it when they put their mind to it. So end your letter on a real strong pep talk and then sign off as you would any letter to the person, love, your cousin Vinny, or whatever. Of course, the reason that we use letters in the intervention process is to maintain control. We've got everything scripted in the first part of the intervention. We all know what we're going to say, and this way we don't have any interruptions or start any little discussion going back and forth. We have a very specific message that we want to deliver. We love you, we care about you, we've got treatment all lined up. All you have to do is say yes, and we're going to get you right where you need to go. This is a powerful message of hope and of love, and we want to carry that through without any kind of interruption or distraction. Now, there are special circumstances where the letters are going to have to be varied a little bit, and I want to give you a few examples to give you an idea of how that works. For example, when a drinking buddy is part of the intervention, it would be very easy for the alcoholic to become angry about it and say, well, you're just a hypocrite being here. I can't believe that you're saying anything about my drinking. Well, we want to take that objection away right up front. And the way we do that is right at the beginning of the letter, at the identification stage. So, for example, the letter could start off by saying, Dear Joe, I've been your friend for 30 years, and you may think that I'm somewhat of a hypocrite to be sitting here today because we've done an awful lot of drinking together. And a lot of the time I've enjoyed that, but things have come to a point now where I see my friends slipping away, and I wouldn't be any kind of friend to you if I wasn't part of this intervention today. You see how the friend has communicated love and concern and at the same time taken away that objection from the alcoholic? Another time that we might have a specialty kind of letter is if the employer is part of the intervention process. Depending on their relationship with the alcoholic, they're not necessarily going to be talking about love per se, but they're going to be talking about respect. They're going to be talking about what a good job they've always done for the company when they've been present to do it. And so we can easily modify the letter from being love to respect and admiration for the good work that the person has done over time. Another specialty kind of letter would be if a medical professional like a doctor was involved. Again, the person wouldn't be talking about love so much, but talking as a physician. This is what I know about you. These are the problems that I see. I know why they are caused by alcoholism or drug addiction or exacerbated by these things, and why I believe as a professional that you need to seek treatment now. Many of the other parts of the letter can remain the same, specifically the ask, where the person is asking the person to go to treatment today, but other little modifications can be made as appropriate. A final example of an intervention letter that may need to be modified slightly is in a spousal situation or a relationship situation where things have become very tense. Once again, it would be very easy for the alcoholic or addict to lose control and start blaming or arguing, because most alcoholics know that if they can start a fight in the middle of the intervention, things will go nuclear and there won't be any talk about treatment going forward. Once again, the way to deal with that is to take it away as an objection right up front. So, for example, a husband might say to a wife, Dear Mary, we've been married for 15 years, and I know that things have gotten pretty rough between us. We've both said things that we probably regret, but I want to say right now in front of everyone that I love you more than ever, and I know that you're suffering from an illness, and I am here today to make sure that you get the help that you really need. I want to put those things that have been very difficult behind us and move forward from here. This kind of very strong declaration makes it almost impossible for the alcoholic to throw the issue back into the fire and try to start a fight. And so once again, we maintain control of the process and move it towards a successful conclusion. The intervention letters even have a role after the intervention process is complete. They can be a very powerful tool for the treatment team at the treatment center. And so when your intervention is done and your loved one is on the way to treatment, we want to gather up all those intervention letters and get them in an envelope and deliver them to the treatment team. The way this can work is that, well, to be honest, it's very normal for a person to slip in and out of their alcoholic denial when they're in treatment. They'll often say, oh, I really didn't have too much of a problem, or my family was so terrible to me to get me in here. And this gives the counselor a way to say, well, why don't you read your intervention letters during group therapy? This will give all of the group members a chance to see that it was a very loving intervention and that there was a very powerful problem. In addition to that, the intervention letters, because they have so much factual information, can be a great diagnostic tool for the members of the treatment team. It's a way of bringing the whole family and friend group into the treatment process, and it can be very powerful going forward. The download package that you got from our website includes sample intervention letters, and now we want to give you a chance to hear what one of those letters would sound like in an intervention.
Dear Mom, as I sat down to write this letter, so many old memories began surfacing about the many good times we had growing up. The trips to visit Uncle Art and Aunt Rosemary at San Diego, camping in the Upper Peninsula, and weekends fishing with Gramps and Gramps at the cottage. It's the small moments I remember best. I loved it when you and I went out after a hard rain to collect worms, putting them in a coffee can for bait. You, Dad, Gramps, and I would get in that old aluminum boat and spend hours fishing. Dad always said you were a better angler than any man he knew, and you took the time to teach me everything you knew about fishing. And I know I wasn't always an easy student. There were many times you patiently untangled my line. Then there was a time I accidentally knocked your favorite rod and reel into the lake. Teaching me to cast was more than a little dangerous, with my hooks flying in every imaginable direction. At night, we'd all sit around and eat those fish, tell stories, and laugh. You don't know how many times I think back on those days. I don't think I've ever thanked you, but you are the person most responsible for instilling in me a true love of fishing. I also credit you in no small way with the successes I've achieved in my life. As a mother, you instilled in me the importance of hard work and perseverance. I know I often complained and whined about chores and homework, but you were unwavering. You always said, every day, do a little more than you think you can, and good things will come your way. I don't know if I would have ever taken the risk of starting my own business if it hadn't been for the way you raised me. I couldn't have asked for a better mother. We have a great family. There are so many things to be thankful for, but we also have our crosses to bear. Our cousin Rita had breast cancer. Dad had a heart attack. And several members of our family have suffered from the disease of alcohol dependence. Uncle Joe died from it, and his oldest son is now a recovering alcoholic after going through treatment. We'd have no problem finding more examples of alcohol problems along our family tree, because it's a genetic disease. It runs in families like so many other diseases. Mom, you've always liked having a few drinks, and for many years that was okay. But now, alcohol is no longer your friend. It's robbing you of your vibrancy and your love of life. I've had conversations with you in the evening that you didn't remember the next day. 2 weeks ago, I called you around 7 p.m. to tell you the plans for Sarah's birthday party, and 2 days later you called to ask if we'd planned her party yet. Your hands have begun to tremble, and I've heard you slur your words. All of these are symptoms of the disease of alcohol dependence. Last week, when you drove over to the house in the afternoon, you'd been drinking. I could smell alcohol, Mom, and you were unsteady on your feet. This tells me that alcohol is making decisions for you that you would never make for yourself. You would never risk hurting another person. That you got behind the wheel with alcohol in your bloodstream tells me that this family disease has infected you, and we must seek professional help. By doing so, I know you'll regain your life back. I'll stand by your side and do my part. I've learned that getting well requires that the entire family participate in the recovery process. I love you so much and will do anything to help you. And your grandchildren love you too. You have so much to teach them. I want you to be there when they graduate from high school and college. I want you to be at their weddings. I know that my kids will be better people for having a close relationship with their grandma. They need you, and I need you. As a family, we've done a great deal of research and found the very best treatment program for you. It's a wonderful place with a lake. The staff is wonderful. It's in Minnesota, and you'll love the woods and the water. You'll feel right at home. And I'm flying there with you. It'll be another great adventure for the two of us. Please, Mom, accept this help we are all offering today. Love, your son, Charles.